Okay. You can hear her? Okay. It's 3:10. I'm going to call this meeting to order. If you can, please stand and join me for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm going to take care of a little housekeeping. I will advise you that this meeting is being videotaped without consent of the board. The recordings are made by a resident or residents acting on their own, over which the board has no control. The SPCA does not have anything to do with the recording, is not responsible for the content, quality, or editing of the recording, or the dissemination of the recording, and does not bear any liability for any damages or issues that may arise from the recording being uploaded to YouTube or any other social media that is not safeguarded from view by anyone worldwide with internet access. If you want a copy of the recording or you have any issue with the recording, please take those requests or concerns to Sandy.
Yes.
Is that, okay, Sandy's today. Okay. I just have another little remark I want to add. Marcia, our new board member, came up with an idea that we think is pretty outstanding as far as the Pledge of Allegiance is concerned. So starting in May, we are going to ask a veteran to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're a veteran and you would be willing to do that, please talk to Marcia Mack and let her know that you will be at the board meetings and that you would like to participate in that. Roll call.
Anderson,
Here.
Gosh,
Here.
Duffy, here, French,
Here.
Judkins,
Here.
Mack, MacArthur.
Here. Are there any agenda deletions?
Madam President, I don't have a deletion, but just points of interest, or however you want to put it, but on our agenda, we should have old business listed, which would include the live streaming and then also the filling of the board vacancy. It was on last month's meeting, and I know we're going to hear some update from our committee reports. However, until those issues are resolved, since they were action items on our agenda, they should be listed as old business so that they don't get forgotten.
I thought we appointed her last month and that was entered into the minutes.
No, I'm talking about topics. For example, one of the action items was to vote on whether we want to record video or record these meetings. It was then referred to an ad hoc committee. We also, as far as filling the board vacancy, that was also referred to a subcommittee to take a look at it. But until those action items are completed, they should be noted on our agenda as old items so that they get addressed each month until they have been fully resolved or acted on by the board.
Okay.
And then one other item, and I just need this for clarification. I looked at the book of policies, and I know what is required to put an item on the agenda. It requires a written notice to the president or the secretary 7 days in advance. But I don't see, I know there's been a couple different instances in the past where items have been refused to be put on the agenda. And I cannot find in the book of policies, I'm sure it's there somewhere, but I can't find it where the authority is granted to the president and or secretary to refuse items to be on the agenda. And could you point that out, where that authority lies?
I don't have the book of policies in front of me, but if you're referring to the agenda items that you asked to be added 3 days before the meeting.
No, Madam President, that is not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to other items that were requested within 7 days.
Okay, what items?
For example, from the what do you call it, the committee that's looking at painting the outside walls.
The foundation.
The foundation that it was requested that that be put on the agenda, and that was refused. That's just one item. There's been a couple others in the past.
Okay, as far as the foundation, and I think there was one other thing. Okay, and I explained that to you. We put action items on the agenda. We don't put discussion items on the agenda, never have as far as I know, but we have several other former board members here who may be able to address that better than I can.
Well, ma'am, what I'm asking, the policy says that if it's requested within 7 days, it will be put on the agenda. And there's been instances in the past where that has been denied. And so all I'm asking, where in the book of policies does it give the president and or secretary the right to deny putting items on the agenda?
Well, I'll have to look that up for you then.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Secretary's report.
The board meeting minutes of March 10th, 2026 and March 17th, 2026 are in your director's packets. These minutes are submitted for your approval.
Are there any corrections to the board meeting minutes of March 10th or March 17th, 2026? Hearing none, these minutes stand approved as presented and will be posted on the SBCA official bulletin board, the SBCA website, and will be submitted for publication in the Summer Journal. Treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report for March 31st, 2026. Our cash balance in the general account totaled $2,094,157.64. February 28th, that balance had been $2,207,690.92. So it was a net decrease in cash of $133,533.28. Our sources of cash were basically association dues of $27,766.47, and then some other sources of cash of $38,929.86. But we had general operating expenses of $180,229.61, which led to that $113,533.28 deficit. As of March 31st, the cash balance in the restricted replacement reserve fund was $2,414,719.26. As of February 28th, that balance had been $2,381,451.52. So it's an increase of $33,267.74, which consisted of $32,000 from sales of homes and interest income of $1,267.74. As of March 31st, 2026, the cash balances in the restricted capital asset fund accounts totaled $32,585.96, which is an increase from the February 28th, 2026 balance of $32,581.99. It's an increase of $3.97, which is attributed to interest income.
Manager's report.
Year-to-date on the operating budget was positive for the year. The events are a little bit negative. Bingo is slightly positive. All in all, the budget is positive for the year so far. Home sales are at 40, which is about 25% less than the 20-year average for home sales.
Architectural Control Committee.
The committee meets every Thursday at 11:30 in the HOA conference room. The committee reviewed 71 requests in March, 14 paint, 12 for roof and shingles, 9 for pavers and patio floors, 5 pergolas, awnings, 4 windows, 3 each additional construction, block wall fence, decorative wall, exterior lighting, repair, stucco, 2 each for doors and landscape, block, 1 each for fascia and soffit, flagpole, gutters and shed and solar.
Community standards.
There were 78 violation notices were issued, 67 for weeds, 5 visible trash bins, 2 underage residents, 2 parking, 1 each for sign and unapproved architecture change.
Thank you. Buildings and grounds.
The Buildings and Grounds Committee meetings are generally held the first Wednesday of every month at 3 o'clock in the auditorium. At the meeting on April 8, 2026, the committee discussed the following: installation of wall cabinets to fiber arts building will be funded by the donation from the Creative Quilters. This is approved and sent to the board for action. Rooms 3 and 4 card tables, renovations of rooms 3 and 4, parking lot lights at the main campus, pergola next to the fiber arts building, and a request for a new wood shop. The next Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting is scheduled for May 6, 2026, at 3 o'clock in the auditorium.
Budget and finance.
Budget and Finance Committee did not meet, talking with Darwin, they probably will not meet until October.
Courtesy patrol. The patrol issued 6 open garage door notices. Communications committee.
The communications meetings are held the fourth Friday of the month at 10 a.m. in the HOA office conference room. The committee reviewed the possibility of electronic signs from other 55-plus communities. More research is needed regarding the cost, programming, and local codes. New business included next season's leadership seminar, block party packets, and submitting articles for publication in the Sunland Journal. The next meeting will be April 24th at 10 a.m. in the office conference room.
The judicial committee generally meets on the third Thursday of the month at 2 p.m. in the HOA conference room. The judicial committee met on Thursday, March 19th, and again Thursday on April 9th to discuss the issue of appointing members to fill unexpired terms on the board. The judicial committee declined to recommend any changes to the bylaws regarding appointment of board members. The next committee meeting is on May 21st at 2 p.m. Residents are welcome and encouraged to attend. Security committee. The security committee generally meets on the first Tuesday of the month at 10:30 in the HOA conference room. The committee met on Tuesday, April 7th. Agenda items included discussion about the recent SOS Stamp Out Scam seminar, review of SBCA and City of Mesa incident and crime reports for March, discussion regarding potential security tips and topics for our next quarterly safety seminar, and for journal articles. The next meeting will be held on May 9th at 10:30 in the office conference room. Residents are welcome and encouraged to attend. Special events committee.
I can do it.
Sure.
The Special Events Committee generally meets the 4th Tuesday of every month at 3:30 in the HOI office conference room. The committee met on March 24th. Members in attendance were Kristen Stone, Patty Palmer, Al Ladoff, Louise Herndon, Katie Stetcher, Carol Mertens, Deanne Diener, and Christy Kaplan. Discussion included next season's concerts, ideas for new and different events, summer's activities, and meeting schedule. If necessary, the meeting will be held on April 28th at 3:30 p.m. in the HOA conference room.
Ad hoc video live streaming committee.
The ad hoc committee met and had a roundtable discussion about the possibility of Zoom meetings. It was agreed that the committee would meet for a mock Zoom meeting, so on March 31st, the mock Zoom session worked out audio and visual challenges, and it was decided to try the same procedure at the April board meeting. One challenge that we're going to have is that we will need a volunteer moderator to operate the computer during Zoom meetings.
Okay, new business. Richard French, Budget and Finance Committee Chair, has asked that we approve the appointment of Marcia Mack as Budget and Finance Committee member. May I have a motion?
I move that the board approve Marcia Mack as a member of the Budget and Finance Committee.
Second?
I'll second.
Any board discussion? Any member comment? Tom, call roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Duffy, yes. French,
Yes.
Judkins,
Yes.
Mack,
Yes.
MacArthur,
Oh, sorry. Yes.
motion passes 7-0.
Installation of wall cabinets in the Fiber Arts Building. The Creative Filters have requested the installation of additional wall cabinets in the Fiber Arts Building. The Creative Filters will fund the cost of the cabinets and any additional material required for the installation. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approve the installation of additional wall cabinets in the Fiber Arts Building. The cost of the cabinets and any additional material will be funded by a donation from the Creative Filters. The Sunland Village maintenance team will install the cabinets.
Second?
I'll second that motion.
Board discussion? Member comment? Tom?
Anderson,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Duffy, yes. French,
Yes.
Judkins,
Yes.
Mack,
Yes.
MacArthur,
Yes.
motion passes 7-0.
Okay. The Pet Pals have requested a continuation of the monthly happy hour events for 2026-27, beginning in October of 2026. Cindy Paul, President of the Pet Pals, will present the details of the group's proposal.
Thank you, Karen. I'm Cindy Paul, President of the Pet Pals Dog Club, and I'm here today to present more information on the proposal that we presented to the board. First, I would like to review real quick what they approved last year. So last year, we met in the fall with the SBCA board, and our proposal was for the Yappy Hour Corral event. This proposal was for the Pet Pals Dog Club to provide and erect temporary fencing where dogs would be allowed to be off leash within this corral. We did receive authorization from the City of Mesa Animal Control Department before presenting this to the board. What we proposed was to have the corral event would be where the Pet Pals purchased and set up this corral twice, on the second weekend, the second Saturday of the months of November through April. With that came, we would hold it from 1 to 4 p.m. That would be a half an hour to set up and a half an hour to take down. 2 hours for the dogs to play in the middle of that. The corral would post 2 signs. One would be the corral rules, which are actually 2 of those signs are on the fencing. And one is the signage that says, for Sunland Village Pet Pal members only. The Pet Pals would provide water and clean the area after each event and remove and store the fencing. The Pet Pals accepted full responsibility for making sure that all dogs had proper vaccinations and licensing. And the way we did this was anyone that was interested in participating would join the Pet Pals as we were taking responsibility and complete a membership form with proof of licensing, vaccination, and they would also sign a waiver of liability. At each event that we had, there was at least one club officer and one club volunteer to oversee the event. And the dog owners had to remain on site the entire time their dogs were at the club. The SVCA board met with us. Sorry, guys. There were negotiations, and it was approved for us to have this from November through April. These are some of our volunteers that helped set up and take down the corral. So far this year, we have had 6 events. And we were lucky enough to have 3 board members attend. Karen MacArthur, Tom Duffy, and Jerry Judkins were at different events. We've learned some things from our inaugural season, and there are some improvements that we would like to propose for the betterment of the events. We are asking to increase the size of the corral, which was 20 by 20 feet, to 20 feet by 40 feet. We would like to do this to increase the size to allow the dogs to play, but also there would be an entry, separate entries, one for the small dogs on one end, one for the large dogs on the other end, and a fence in between to keep them apart. This would be for safety as well as allowing them more room to play. We're also requesting to change the time. We would like to move it to 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. I'm sorry, that's a long time. From 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. because we found in the months of November, December, March, and April in the afternoon, the temperatures were high 80s to low 90s, and that was just too hot for the dogs in the sun. So I'd like to show you a couple of the pictures of the actual corral event that we've had. Looks something like this. The Pet House is an interest group. We were formed not only for the interests of our pets, but for the interests of our neighbors with common interests in socializing dogs and owners. Since we started this event, it has drawn interest in the neighborhood. We have increased our membership, and people seem to enjoy watching the dogs play. So I would like to thank you at this time for your consideration of the proposal for the 2026-2027 Gathering Referendum.
Okay, I don't think this requires a board vote, but I want to poll the board and see if there's any objection for items 3 through 7, I think it is, to have board discussion and member comment first before we propose a motion. I think this will give the board an opportunity to hear what each other and the audience has to say before we vote on it. So is there any objection? No? Okay, then board discussion.
So I have a question. In 2023, there was an election held, and two of the things referred to the dog park. One is building the dog park itself, but then there was a companion thing on the ballot about amending the CCNRs, Article 4, Section 1E, about house pets, and I think it referred to them being off leash when they were not on their own property. So if that was necessary then to establish a fenced-in dog park, why was it not necessary to get that changed now before we have a temporary fenced-in dog park?
May I answer? Sure. When I reached out to the City of Mesa Animal Control, we expressed this as an event. It's a temporary event. Things go up, it happens, the fence comes down. It is an event. It is not a permanent structure of any type. They said because it is an event, as long as the property owner approves the area in which we are having this event, that it can be done. In that it is not any violation of the Arizona statute of loose dogs.
I'm not concerned with Arizona statute as much as I'm concerned with our CCNRs.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Cheryl, that article in the CCNRs applies only to the residential lots. It doesn't apply to the common property. And we found out when we were researching for this proposal a year ago.
So it says what it says in the CCNRs is that if the dog is off of its private property, it has to be leashed.
And it's one of the restrictions that applies to the lots in the village, not the common property.
It refers to a lot being off of its.
If you look at you have to go into the CCNRs and look at how it's laid out. You list all the separate subdivisions in here and list all the lot numbers.
It's really pretty simple. It says, house pets must be kept on a leash or within the boundaries of the lot owned or possessed by the owner of such pets. So if it's off of the lot owned by the owner, it has to be on the leash. That's what this.
I don't think that applies according to the way the lots are laid out in the restrictions of the CCNRs.
That's what it says here. And that's what we needed to have changed to have a permanent dog park. So why was it necessary then and not necessary now to change it?
We reread it, and our interpretation, 6 months ago, or whatever it was, when we did the approval for the happy hour, we looked at it sounded like it only applied to the lots and not the common property. If you go ahead and read the restrictions in the CCNRs, you'll see them all listed.
I did read it. I quoted exactly from that
No,
section that was
no.
going to be changed.
Cheryl, to say another way, I think what Tom is saying is because the confined area
Yeah.
is not on a lot, that's their interpretation of why that
If
is.
you look farther down lower in the CCNRs, I think it refers to section A or something, and then it goes into starts to list all the lots by subdivision. Darwin?
Yeah, this is track A. It doesn't technically apply to track A. The CCNR doesn't apply to every CCNR doesn't apply to every situation, just as it doesn't apply to the towers or to buildings. So each situation is going to have to look at which each CCNR use restriction, and how it applies, which lot the actual track it applies to.
So was the track that they were talking about for the dog park different than this track in front of the library?
This entire lot here, the 7 1/3 acres here in the main campus, is referred to as track A.
Okay, so why did we need to get it changed when we were going to have the permanent dog park in track A? And we don't need to get it changed now when we're having a temporary dog park in track A.
That was the thinking at the time, to change the CCNR, to amend the CCNR use restriction at that point in time. Upon further review, people decided it did not apply.
The board decided it did not apply?
Correct.
The city of Mesa put in writing a document that said, for purposes of a dog park, because according to the city of Mesa ordinances, a dog has to be on the leash unless it's on your property or it's in an enclosed space that the city of Mesa determines to be an appropriate dog park. They put it in writing that a temporary fenced area with 48-inch fencing was what they considered to be a dog park for purposes of the ordinances. So on that basis, we approved it. We've done it for 6 months. Board members attend. There are several Pet Pals members who attend in addition to the dog owners. I don't have a problem approving it again for another 6 months. And I think it's working just fine.
Could I ask Darwin a question? Darwin, have you received any complaints from the citizens outside the Pet Pal group on this event?
I think there's been a few incidents, they were resolved, typical that much interaction between people and dogs, there's a few incidents, those incidents were resolved as far as I know about it.
But I mean, as far as the residence itself, you know, outside the actual pet health people.
As far as neighboring property or?
Yes, yeah.
Not that I'm aware of a neighboring property, I'm not aware of anything like that. There's a few incidents internally within the dog park, a dog area, but not that I'm aware of anything outside like a neighboring property.
I am aware of someone who complained that they didn't like the traffic, but we don't control the traffic in the parking lot. And all of the other complaints that I have seen, and there haven't been, when I say all, I'm talking 2 or 3, they have not risen to the point where I would consider it a bad thing or a no vote, and they have been resolved.
Is there any, are there any plans to ask the community again whether they approve a temporary dog park?
No. I mean, well, when I say that, when this first came up last year, the community gave many comments about whether they were interested in this temporary dog park. And they are welcome to do so today. But as far as putting it on a ballot or something, no, there hasn't been any discussion like that.
Should there be? I mean, when they had the election before, the off-leash dog park went down pretty resoundingly. I mean, there were over 1,000 people that voted no and 379 that voted yes. So
I understand that, and that was because it was going to be a permanent dog park. It was going to cost the association money to build it and maintain it and supervise it, and that had to go on the ballot for us to approve something that was going to be a permanent part of Sunland Village.
And this is only, we're not approving a dog park, all we're doing is approving one of our groups to be able to hold an event on a 6-month basis. Not a dog park.
Well, they're making, instead of 20 by 20, it's going to be 20 by 40. They're making it a little longer, which will allow them to separate it so that the small dog, this is going to make it better because there won't be any issue of larger dogs intimidating smaller dogs. Is there any other board discussion? No? Member comments?
Are we allowed just
Wait,
to start talking?
No.
no. No. Yeah, please go up to the microphone if you have a member comment. No member comments on this issue? None?
I can make a member comment.
Okay.
We live right next to where they set this up. They come over, they get it set up, dogs kind of hang out. We hardly notice it happening other than there's people over there laughing and a few barks. And that's really pretty much what happens, and they clean up when they're done and go back. So I think, it's not costing us anything. It's getting some people in the community together. That's my view of it. So.
Thank you. Any other comments? Tom, call the roll. Oh, sorry, Susan, didn't see you.
Susan Miners. Do you need my address, Tom? Okay. I was the one that originally did a lot of research when we wanted a permanent dog park. And so I talked to a lot of the people at the city in the different departments. And as long as the dogs are on a water retention area, where they've been having the happy hour events have been a water retention area at the end of the library, or even if it was by the North Pool, which has a big water retention area, or, what is that, Portland and Dolphin, that's a water retention area. So as long as it's a water retention area, the city has no problem with that. And when we went from permanent to doing just an event that was, as Cindy said, set up, take down, everybody's there to supervise, clean up, and what have you. It's been very successful. And if you look at the number of parks that have permanent dog parks, it is a real draw for many people to buy homes in those areas that have dogs, because they like this and they're able to associate with other and get to know other people that have dogs and so forth. But anyway, I think that to extend it a little bigger, especially if they're going to add a few more dogs, would be a good thing.
Any other comments?
Hold the audience today, just out of curiosity.
No.
We don't hold the audience. Go ahead, Marilyn.
Marilyn Ashford, 4532 East Dolphin Avenue. And I am the one who got up the original petition against the dog park. My husband and I did meet with Sean Pasick at the city. He did make the comment that our village was not designed for a dog park and so on. So what they tried to do is make amends for this, try to figure out a way that they can still do something here but not have a dog park. And I'm all for this. This is fine if they want to do like a temporary one. Our greatest concern is this. March 21, we saw another dog fight right across the street from us, and I did report that.
I just want to make sure you clarify this is not in the dog park or
Right.
anything to do with.
But these are the concerns that we have. There was a dog fight there. Another thing, constantly, yesterday morning, there was 2 different people over there. One of them drives a black golf cart, has some red paint on it. She had 2 brown dogs over there. All of them are off leash.
But that wasn't at the happy hour.
Right.
Okay.
And the dog fight, when that happened, the dog attacking was off leash. And I think this is the main concern we have, that some of the dogs are not off leash. As long as they are corralled and so on, that's fine. But please, everybody in the community understand, if they're not in that corral area, or if they're not in your backyard, the dogs need to be on leash. Had that little dog been on leash March 21, I don't think the other dog would have been attacked. Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments?
My name is Sherry Ainsworth, and I don't per se have a problem with the dog park, other than there have been incidents, and I understood it to say that it had to be without incident. Rhonda Weldon's dog was attacked at the dog park entrance by Cindy's dog, and it sustained serious injuries. The vet had said if it would just been 1 inch over, it would have killed the dog. I got pictures of it. You should have pictures. She wrote an incident and turned it in to you. I wrote an incident. My dog was attacked at the pictures for Santa. It wasn't the dog park. It was still Cindy's dog, and that's the only thing I have a problem with is her dog. And there's no warning. The dog goes from being on a leash to attacking, So it makes it hard when you have no pre-warning that the dog's angry or anything. And I just picked my dog up and walked away from the Santa pictures. But Rhonda wasn't so lucky, and I just wanted to point that out. Her dog is a big problem. I'm sorry, Cindy, but it is. And I don't know what she's planning on doing about that.
I'll let Cindy address that. Okay, I would like to point out that in our rules for the dog park, I'm sorry, now you guys got me saying it, the corral event, on our rules, it says any aggressive dog shall be removed permanently from the corral. As president of the Pet Pals Dog Club, I not only remove my dog from the corral, I remove my dog from every activity that the Pet Pal Club holds. I think that's taking more responsibility than I needed to take, but for the safety of everyone's dogs, all of yours and mine, the dog has been removed and does not socialize in any events whatsoever.
Can I ask you one other question? What about when you walk your dog? Does it have a muzzle on? Because if you...
She does not. However, I walk at 4:30 in the morning, and I don't see any other dogs except for the person that I walk with who walks her two dogs. How about coyotes? They don't come near her. Any, no.
Sephora Brown, 5108 East Forge Avenue. I used to be surrounded by dogs. My son has a dog, I love dogs. The thing is, the reason it's not on the CCNRs and why it's not in policy, it's because this is just like any event that goes on here in Sun Ana Village, like any club that has an event going on, and this would be considered a monthly event. And that's why it's not on the CCNR policy.
Any other comments? Lynn?
Lynn Conlon, 4722 East Carmel Avenue. I don't have a problem with this Pet Pals, once a month or twice a month or however many months they do it. I have more concern about the ones that go not during the pet, your things, your events, but are over in the pond, especially by the swimming pool. I drive by there just about every other day, and I see somebody or other with the dog off leash, and they're throwing a ball, and they're doing all of those things. And although I don't know of any incidents, and I certainly hope we don't have any, but if I were having younger kids that were walking on the way to the pool, or I was with them as we were walking on the way to the pool, I would be concerned about that. I don't have a problem now with the resident. I just didn't understand what Socorro was talking about. I think Steve tried to explain this.
Okay.
Better than I did. But that's my only concern are those dogs that are off leash, and it doesn't have anything to do with them. And
Okay.
I'm fine for that.
As far as the dogs who are off leash, we can say, our documents say the dog has to be on the leash, but there's really not a whole lot we can do about it. That is a MESA animal control issue, and we keep telling people, if you see dogs off leash, and I see it, please report it to animal control. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. So if you want somebody to do something about it, animal control, call every time you see a dog off leash, tell them the time, the date, when you saw it. You can upload pictures if you want, if you see dogs off leash, and force them to get out here and do something about it. If they see a pattern, if they see it happening all the time, they will. Any other comments? No?
Sorry, Denise Bloomberg, 4531 East Carmel Circle. Speaking of the dogs, attacks, I just wanted to please beg everyone, seriously, if you get attacked or your dog gets attacked, please tell somebody. It really was so simple. I was attacked by a dog who has previously attacked people and dogs, and there have been charges filed, and I called the number, and they sent the police out immediately and took a wonderful report. They talked to the woman who gave them a story that the dog just got away from her. But anyway, when I found out that there were other instances of this that have happened, unfortunately, none of them were recorded except way back in 21. So there wasn't that pattern that Karen was just saying. So even if it's just a phone call, it really does make a difference, because then they go after the person.
So, as she was saying, I just want to make sure everybody heard her. If you are attacked, or if your dog is attacked, by all means, call not only animal control, but the police. The police will come out. Anybody?
More reason to carry.
No? Call the roll.
What are we voting on?
We don't have a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that the board approve the Pet Pal's proposal to hold a happy hour corral event once a month for the months of October through April. Upon all the conditions listed in the proposal are to agree to and signed by all the Pet Pal officers.
I'll second it. Let Marcia second.
Is this for the upcoming season? Or
This is for October 2026 through April of 2027.
Yes.
John, call the roll.
Anderson,
I'll abstain.
Dodge,
Yes.
Duffy, yes. French,
Yes.
Judkins,
Yes.
Mack,
Yes.
MacArthur.
Yes.
Motion passes 6 yes, 0 no's, and 1 abstain.
Okay, thank you. Board and committee schedules in E-Class. Board member Cheryl Anderson has asked that the board take action on adding board meetings, committee meetings, reminders to the weekly E-Blast. Board discussion.
No, they want to discuss before. I think that the E-Blast gets information out regarding committee meetings and the board meetings. We don't even have anything on the sandwich signs. It used to be after a board meeting today at 3 o'clock. I don't think that's out there anymore. So I think that if it went out on the E-Blast, that would be a proactive thing to do to keep people informed about the meetings.
I agree with Cheryl that things need to be posted. We have in the past posted a photo of the board members along with a reminder of the upcoming board meeting in the E-Blast the week prior to the board meeting. I think that's a very good idea. I'd like to see that restarted. I don't know why it stopped. I don't have a particular objection to notice of committee meetings being announced on the E-Blast once a month for all the committee meetings scheduled for the following month. I don't think it needs to be a weekly reminder of what committee meetings are going on that week. Any other board discussion?
Yeah, it costs us nothing to send out e-blasts, and if we want transparency, let's remind people, everyone's busy. It doesn't hurt to get an e-blast out once a week when the meetings are. I fully support this.
Is that all the board discussion? Member comment?
I agree with the board chair. I think a once-a-month reminder is great. Mark, I guess I'll disagree with you that it does cost us something. It costs us in time paid to either Christy or Julie or whoever is doing the e-blast. And the longer the e-blasts are, I think it sort of turns people off from reading the whole thing. So we don't want to keep adding and adding and adding. We get it in the journal, and if we have a reminder prior to the board meeting, or even an additional, week and a half before, but one other time, I think that's sufficient. They're either going to read it, put it on the calendar, or they're not.
Janine Dorr, 4708 East Florian Circle. I just wanted to comment in connection with this proposal. It seems like comments made by some of the board members are to discourage participation. For example, starting the meeting with this legal disclaimer that, in the event something might be occurring as a result of this being videotaped, that you're not responsible and they should go contact that person. As part of the judicial committee, you should be aware that Arizona law provides no encumbrances or prohibitions on any one of us making a recording of this and doing whatever we choose with it.
You're absolutely right.
That's correct. And so by you making this big disclaimer right at the beginning of the meeting, it just discourages people from participating like, oh, something must be wrong. I shouldn't participate. And now, something so simple as putting in a weekly reminder of which committee meetings are going to be this week. Everyone here is very busy. We all have families, different activities, work and things. An extra reminder out there for people to read. They might say, oh yeah, I can go on Wednesday. But to plan a month ahead, not so much. My opinion.
Okay, to clarify, the statute says very specifically that anybody can record, anybody in attendance can record meetings, unless the board records the meetings. And if the board recorded the meetings, we have to meet certain statutory requirements about keeping it safe, keeping it for 6 months. And if we record it, nobody in the audience is allowed to record it. We are the only ones who can record it. Yes, it does. It says exactly that.
Would you provide that to us then?
Carmen, do you have the statutes with you? Okay, I don't have
We
them.
don't need
I
to
will
do
be
that.
glad to do that.
She's right in her assumption to do that.
So the only reason I give that caveat at the beginning is because the board is not responsible for the recording. The board has nothing to do with the recording. The board has not voted to do that, and we are not going to take responsibility for it. And that's the only reason I do that. It's a legal thing, and I will continue to do it at every meeting at the very beginning, unless the board changes the policy.
Denise Bloomberg, I just wanted to comment that as a former condominium board member for many, many years, I appreciate Karen making that comment and understand why she has to do it. Board members have liability that they have to have insurance for, and there are legal concerns. So it isn't a don't come to the meeting, it's just letting people know it's being recorded and giving information. As far as the comment about sending emails once, or the e-blast once a week, to be honest, when I get down toward the end, I am really scanning that thing, and I worry sometimes that I'm gonna miss something important. I know when the committee meetings are, I've got the journal, I can look online, once a month, hey, just, this is when they're coming, but most of them meet once a month, or even less than that. I think that's more than enough. I think the more communication we put in that email, people aren't gonna be reading it, so that's just my 2 cents.
No, not at all. Yes, but not with you.
My name's Rick Kramer,
Cramer, and I'm at 659 South Rochester, in Illinois Place. On the e-blast, I think it's a great idea, but could we have it like 9 to 10 days prior, so if there's something we want to put on the agenda, or talk to somebody about getting on the agenda, that we could do that? That was my only comment.
Are you talking about board meetings or committee meetings?
Aren't we talking about both of them? Anything being put on the agenda?
Well, yeah, there are different protocols for the board meeting, and, excuse me.
I thought it was an e-blast for any meeting that's coming up.
No. It's not. The e-blast is for general communication each week for events.
And we're talking about e-blast, e-blast to announce board meetings and committee meetings. That's what you're referring to, right?
Yes, I'm referring mostly to the board meeting in case I want to get something, or talk to a board person about getting something on the agenda. At 7 days, it can't be put on, but at 10 days, it could be.
I think that puts a lot of responsibility on Christie, who puts the e-blasts out when she has time to put the e-blasts out.
Christie doesn't actually put it out on a weekly basis. I think the way she explained to me is whenever she has time, then she does the e-blast. So it doesn't go out on a certain day every week. It may be every 8 days or every 7 days or whatever. So I think if we put it in there, the committee meetings could be in there once a month. Maybe start the first one of the month or something like that, and a week before the board meetings. I think that should be sufficient to get the word out, in addition to the journal and the website.
Steve and Cheryl, I think it's a good idea to communicate that information out. Not sure that the e-blast is going to be the preferred way to do it, but let's talk about ways to communicate better as time goes on. Okay, go ahead, Marsha.
I would just like to call for the vote, call for the question.
Are you going to make a motion, Cheryl, to vote on it?
Sure. I move that the board meetings and committee meetings be added to the weekly e-blast.
Second?
Second.
Tom?
Anderson?
Yes?
Josh?
Yes.
Duffy? No. Frank?
Yes.
Judkins?
No.
Mac?
Yes.
Arthur?
No.
Motion is 4-3, motion passes.
Okay. Board member Cheryl Anderson has asked that the board take action on providing all board members with a copy of the suggested agenda 10 days prior to the meeting. Okay, board discussion?
I think it's a great idea. Currently, the way it is, it comes out 5 days before, typically about 5 days before the meeting, which means it's past the 7-day comment period that we're able to make any changes to it. So once it comes out, we have enough say. So putting it out 10 days earlier, the board will have 3 or 4 days to review it and make any changes if need be to the secretary and we get that information out. So definitely an important thing to do.
I think this is probably a reasonable request, although I would want it to be clear that this is a rough draft agenda subject to change. And I would delete the proposed motion wording that says at least 10 days prior and make it simply 10 days prior. I don't want any of the board members to think that just because they request to place something on the agenda, it will automatically go on the agenda. and we still need to adhere to our documents that says agenda items must be presented at least 7 days prior to the board meeting. I think if we're going to expect agenda items to be presented 7 days prior, it makes sense that the board members should know prior to that what's going on the draft agenda so that they know whether they have any suggestions to put on the agenda.
That would be true, but we have somebody who thinks that they can not take our agenda items as we ask them to be put on the agenda. So if we don't know that they've been rejected, then how do we deal with that? I think that if a board member asks for something to be on the agenda, it should be on the agenda. You have a different opinion about that, but I would like at least to see the agenda that you have approved before the 7-day cutoff period, so that can be addressed.
Okay, Cheryl, you presented to me 9 agenda items. I put every single one of them on the agenda.
This time
and
you
didn't
did, yeah.
change a word.
This time you did.
And last time.
But there's been instances in the past where that has not been the case. And what's the big deal? That board members should be able to see the proposed agenda before it gets published. And right now, that's not happening, and that's wrong.
And I agree that the better option would be for the board members to have the agenda prior to the 7-day cutoff for putting things on it, just for the reason that you have suggested, that you need to know what's going on so you can decide whether you want to put something on the agenda. I don't have a problem with that.
I think getting the agenda out to the board members 10 days ahead of time is a good idea, if we can do that. But still stick to the policy, they have to be the 7-day policy. That's in there now.
Okay. Any other board discussion? Member comments?
Paul Myers, 4733 East Edgewood. I agree with the having a prior. I only see one problem with that, is that the buildings and grounds is ahead of that. And so therefore, whatever has to proceed of checks and balances, whatever comes through the board or through buildings and grounds has to be passed on to the board. So you can't have something prior to a meeting that they haven't even made decisions on. So if you want to put in that, that's fine, but like Karen said, you have that stipulation that that is not concrete, that is something that is a draft issue, and things will be changed or added on or whatever.
And I think one way to handle the buildings and grounds issue, which is a very fair point to bring up, is to put on the draft agenda that is given to the board members 10 days before the board meeting, an item that goes on every month that says input from buildings and grounds. We may not know what that input is at that 10-day period, but buildings and grounds meets the Wednesday before every board meeting, and whatever they come up with that needs to be presented to the board is going to go on the agenda at the next board meeting. So if that's appropriate, that we can put something in there that says there will be something from buildings and grounds. We don't know what it is yet, but
That's
it'll
fine.
be there.
That's fine.
Okay. Now, the only question I have is, will you change your motion, your draft proposal?
I'll take out everything.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, you want to make your motion, Cheryl?
I move that the board require the proposed meeting agenda to be distributed to all board members 10 days prior to each regular board meeting to allow directors adequate time to review the agenda and request additions or modifications as needed.
I second that.
Tom?
Okay, Anderson?
Yes.
Bosch?
Yes.
Duffy? Yes. French?
Yes.
Judkins?
Yes.
Mack?
Yes.
MacArthur?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, adding comments to the minutes. Cheryl Anderson has asked that the board take action on adding director and member comments to board minutes. For discussion.
I think, didn't we already discuss
Yeah, we
this?
already done this,
Oh.
in March, so I think we should be good on this.
Yeah, I think as long as we're gonna continue with what you've been doing, that's fine.
So we're talking name and a one or
Name,
two word
name,
topic.
Maybe
Yeah,
a
the
topic.
topic, yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Well, that speeds things up. Okay. Publication of draft minutes. Board member Cheryl Anderson has asked that the board take action to make the draft minutes available on the website, the bulletin board, by the end of the month, end of the week, after the board meetings. Board discussion.
I think it's important to have the minutes out as soon as possible, even if they're a draft copy, because otherwise members do not see this for a month or 2 months if all they do is read the newspaper. They don't go on the website. So I think having the draft minutes up there, plainly labeled draft, not final copies, whatever legal stuff needs to be on it, but the draft minutes should be available for members to see what went on this week at our board meeting.
Well, in light of the fact that I hope we're going forward with our Zoom meetings, Zooming them and recording them, I think people will be able to hit the link and view the meeting, and even if they weren't here, be able to see a lot more detail. And although I agree with Cheryl that people want to see the minutes early, I guess in my past experience, it's very rare to have draft minutes being put out in public, just because people read something you can have draft on them and they assume it's the real thing. And so for those reasons, and with the hope that we go to the Zoom meetings and recordings, that's going to kind of take care of the need that we have to get the information out quickly to people.
I agree with Mark. Once we put any minutes out there, even though it's labeled draft, people will assume that it's pretty much the final copy, and if you ever try to change them, you can do changes at the next board meeting, and then you're going to have all sorts of questions, I believe. So I think it's not a good idea to put them out too far ahead of normal schedule we're on now. So they're approved.
I agree as well, but I would also agree, if you look at the agenda that you have, if you want a summary, if you take the agenda and next to each action item, put pass or fail, and post that. I don't have a problem with that, and that would at least let people know, well, this is the action they took. They passed an issue of replacing the air conditioning building on building 7. They passed the purchase of tables for rooms 3 and 4. That could be done without any legal issues or problems of misperception. So I would go along with that if that were the issue. But I agree with Mark and Tom. Once you post the minutes, whether you intend to or not, draft or not, they become the minutes.
So what you're saying is you agreed to post whatever was voted on by the board at that meeting?
It would look something like
Post
this.
the agenda. I think there's a
It would look like this,
sample.
Cheryl. So it'd just be the agenda that we, the action items we took on the
Yeah.
agenda, and the status if it was passed or failed.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
As long as people know
I think
what's
that's a
going
good
on.
idea.
I'm sorry?
I think that's a really good idea.
Okay. Okay, so Is this something we have to take action on as a board, or, does it get done every week? I mean, every, a week, within a week after the board meeting? That could certainly be done within a week after the board meeting. Okay, then I'll make the motion that the, agenda items be posted with the results.
We have to have member comments.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, member comments. Getting ahead of ourselves. No member comments? Okay. Cheryl? I make a motion that we post the agenda items with the results of the board votes within a week after the meeting. Second?
I will second that.
Tom?
Anderson,
Yes.
Dosh,
Yes.
Duffy, yes. French,
Yes.
Judkins,
Yes.
Mack,
Yes.
MacArthur.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 7-0.
This is the last one. Okay. Cheryl Anderson has asked the board to take action to change the comment protocol to add sign-in slips. That list the name, street, address, and topics. Board discussion. Okay, so at other board meetings, when people want to answer a call to the public, or want to say something at call to the public, they're asked to fill their name in so that they can be called to the microphone. And if we did this, it's just a simple little thing: print your name, print your address. If you want to put down your topic, put it down, otherwise, surprise us. But that way, we would have the spelling of their name, they wouldn't have to take time to spell their name at the microphone, they wouldn't have to say their street address. Tom would have all that in front of him so he could make notes on the paper if he wanted to. Just a way to make it easier on the board and easier on us to know how many people actually want to speak at the call to the public.
What are the meetings you're referring
Like school board meetings and city council meetings and things like that. Okay, I have a real problem with this. We are not the school board, we are not the city council, and as far as I know, this is trying to fix something that isn't broke. The school board, the city council, the state legislature, they use these types of sign-in slips and limit the number of people who speak. They also limit the time allowed for the totality of the member comments. In the case of the Mesa School Board, that time allotment is 15 minutes that they allow for the call to the public, or whatever term you use. Therefore, if you have, example, 10 people who want to comment, each speaker is limited to 1.5 minutes, rather than the 3 minutes we allow in our meetings. Further, does this mean that anyone who might want to speak during member comments has to show up at the board meeting a half an hour early to fill out their slips and present them to the board? And to whom do they present these slips? And do we then group the slips into topic categories and call residents up to speak on each topic category? Or do we call them in alphabetical order and just go back and forth between topics? And what if a resident speaks on a topic he signed up for, then decides to comment on another topic during his allotted time? Do we tell him, no, you can't do that? During our regular board meetings, after a motion is made and after board comment on the motion, we call for member comments. So in the case of signing up slips, if a member does not sign up to speak on the proposed motion before the meeting, does that mean he or she is not allowed to comment?
No.
The statute states that we need to ensure that all members have the ability to speak after discussion of agenda items, but before the vote of the board is taken. So now, if any member makes a comment that now causes another member to wish to respond, but the responding member has not filled out a slip before the meeting, is that responding member barred from speaking? I don't see that we're solving a problem.
I just thought it would be easier for Tom to have their name printed and their street address out there so they wouldn't have to spell everything up there. You know, I'll make the motion and you can vote it down, it's okay. I just wanted to make it
I think the system, I think the system we got worked pretty good. That's the problem I would have, if somebody decides, they don't fill out a slip and then in the middle of the meeting, they decide, oh, I want to talk, how do we address that?
They can still fill it out, huh? They can,
Well, I think everybody has the option now to come up and speak when they want to, and I generally don't have too much trouble keeping up with things and addresses, so I'm not sure that we really be accomplishing too much.
Well, just as a thought, and this is what we did in the state legislature, when people would come in and, they just pass a clipboard around, they would write their name, address if they wanted to. Are they here in support of or against?
Again, you're trying to fix something that's not broke.
Well, we're overthinking this.
Hey, Jerry, I'm talking.
Come on, I'm talking. Madam President, would you please enforce some etiquette rules here, please? All we have to do is have a list up there. I think it's very kind of uncomfortable if you come up and you say, you want to say something, give your name and your address to everyone in the crowd. Do you really want to do that? I don't know. Having a sheet of paper, you sign your name and put that information and you're done. It's just a matter of privacy. I think we're way overthinking this.
Is that, any other member comments? And I'm sorry, any other board comments? Member comments?
And since we all are residents of Sunland Village, I guess I don't quite get the, gee, it's really embarrassing to give my name and address. You could look it up in the directory if you had to, but I'm Susan Miners, by the way. You didn't know that, did you?
What's your address, Susan?
33 East Edgewood Avenue, Mark.
Thank you.
But I guess the problem I have, there have been times, and Karen knows this, there have been times when I've printed out the agenda ahead of time, and of course it's written, very briefly. You can't sometimes tell exactly which direction it's going to take, and I've written out long comments about what I'm going to say about something, and then I get here, and the board discussion is completely the opposite of how I interpreted by the agenda, the way it was written. And so I don't get up and talk or anything, and okay, great job, guys. I just think we've never done this before. Even at the school board meeting, if you have tons and tons of people, sometimes you only get 45 seconds to talk. But if it's not been a problem, why introduce something else that somebody else has to be responsible for? And I think Tom's getting to the point that he probably knows most of us that get up and talk anyway.
Any other comments?
You want to say something, Marshall?
The motion is calling to use the sign-in procedure. We're not voting on a procedure, but this is just a motion that we can discuss it, maybe come up with something that would work. To me, I think just having a piece of paper, a tablet, people sign in when they come up to the board to talk. But that isn't what this motion is. It's just to, that we would find the sign-in procedure at this point. Is that correct, Cheryl? Is that what your motion is?
The motion was to have the people who speak have their name printed and their street address printed, so it would make it easier to keep those notes without them having to spell it out slowly at the microphone.
Right.
So when they come up to the microphone to speak, are they going to put those slips in a box or something? I mean, are they going to turn them into somebody and then we're going to call people up to speak?
Well, the board can make a decision on how that's going to work. I mean, I just think we should have it available.
Any other member comments?
Loretta Cohen Street, 5063 East Escondido Avenue. This was tried about 20 years ago when we had a board that was so divided. And it didn't work. Members they were picked who could speak because it was presented to the president and the president went through them and picked what she wanted. So don't even go there.
Are you moderating or are you speaking?
So I got one question. What happens, so we're in the middle of a discussion like this, and somebody gets the idea, okay, I want to speak. So they have to fill out a slip then? Give it to somebody, or what do we do?
I don't think so. I think this would work for the majority of people that knew they were going to speak, or they wanted to speak, or they were scheduled to speak. If somebody wanted to come up and spell their name out and give their address, that would be fine too.
I think it's working for the majority of the people the way we're doing it. I don't see any sense in changing it.
Do you want to make a motion and vote on it, or move on?
I will withdraw the motion and hopefully maybe at a work session we can talk about it more.
Okay. Cool.
So what do we do?
She withdrew the motion.
She withdrew the motion, okay. And that ends the business portion of this meeting. Yeah, I now open the meeting to comments from the floor. All those speaking must be a member of Sunland Village Community Association. Please begin by stating your name and address and then slowly spell your name. Comments are limited to appropriate SBCA topics, and your comments are limited to 3 minutes, and Jerry is keeping track.
I just have one, Lynn Conlon, 4722 East Carmel. I just have one quick question. The Judicial Committee declined to recommend how to go about dealing with appointing HOA members, board members. Can you explain why, or what the rationale is?
The committee considered and discussed it at 2 separate meetings in both March and April, and felt that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that what happened this year was a glitch and not normal for us, and did not want to hamstring future boards if this occurs again, and did not feel like this is an ongoing problem that needed to be fixed, so the feeling was, it's not broke, don't fix it. Am I incorrect or correct?
Well, Madam Chair, it was directed, transferred from the board to the committee to bring back to the board a resolution of some sort. So that does have to come back to the board, full board, for a full vote and discussion. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. You don't take a board action item and simply say, put it in a committee and let the committee sweep it under the rug, especially when the committee chairman is someone that doesn't want to do it. That is not right. It comes back to a full vote of the
That's in the
board.
meeting, Mark.
No. Jerry?
I just want to clarify that at those 2 meetings, I was the only committee member who was willing to entertain the idea that something should be, there should be some guidance other than what our documents state.
Madam President, this is an important item that was presented and on the agenda for the board. The board asked the committee to research it. You can bring back those results to the full committee, but this is a board decision. And to say it isn't broke Let's ask Darrell Frost if he thinks it's broke. Let's ask 100 people that attended each of the meeting after this occurred who were upset about how things work. It is a problem. It needs to be fixed. And it needs to be brought back to the board. The committee does not make the decisions for the HOA, the board does.
And I agree with you, Mark.
Okay, then let's bring it back next meeting. It better be on the agenda as an old item, and let's have public discussion and see where it goes.
Any other comments? No other member comments?
This is a different topic. I just want to take this opportunity to thank this board for having previously approved a pergola that was installed today. Go out that door and look. It's up, it's awesome. It was funded by the efforts of the foundation and Creative Quilters. So thank you for approving that.
And it is gorgeous.
It is beautiful.
2-drink minimum.
Get close to the mic.
My name is Connie Jensen, lot 536. I am here today to ask the board to maybe reconsider a decision that we got maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. 20 ladies had signed a request to get permission to have music during our 45-minute water aerobic class. Let's see, it's on Mondays, 10 o'clock. We've observed very few people in the pool and always ask permission if we can use the music. So if you would please review the documents that I gave to you. The last one, I think, was the one from the board declining our request. So we'd like to ask you to revisit that, if you would. Thank you.
Connie, could I ask you a question? Now, according to this letter, it said the board of directors has received your petition. I don't recall receiving any petition. Now, was I dismissed, or?
I gave it to Christy, thinking this was an activity thing, and she passed it along to the board.
Okay, Mark, you're really addressing that to me. When the requests come in, and there are several a week that come in for something like this to be considered, as long as I don't have the authority to grant an exemption, an exception, but sending a letter out saying that these are the rules, these are the posted rules, and they are posted for a reason and they are observed for a reason, I can do that. So what I'm saying to you is, if you are requesting an exception from the board should call a special hearing to discuss that exemption like we do for everybody else, especially people who are asking for like ACC exceptions. And I don't have a problem with that.
If the board declined our request, could we request that we know how each board member voted?
No, this wasn't a board member vote.
It said
This
in the
was an
letter that-
administrative, and that probably, I probably should have changed that. I didn't even.
Okay, well, thanks for your consideration.
Okay, but if you want this considered at a board hearing, we can do that.
I'm a little concerned because it says in this letter that the board of directors has received your petition. I don't think we received your petition. And then it says the board has decided to decline the request. And we did not decide to decline the request.
Is that for your interpretation of it? Okay, so that's your interpretation of what happened.
No, it says in the letter.
That's the letter.
Karen signed the letter saying the board has received your petition, and then later, the board has decided to decline the request.
I think it's a matter of the letter back to you is worded pretty poorly. I think it should have probably just led that, you know, like Karen said, that she's looked at it and she declined your request for an exemption, and then stated that you could put in a request for the hearing.
Well, none of that is in the
Yeah,
slide.
I think it was pretty misworded.
And honestly, I'd be happy to suggest that we do hold a hearing for you, or we put it on as an agenda in May's meeting.
I think the hearing is the best way to go instead of a regular board meeting.
Why not excuse me, Tom, why not on a board meeting though? I mean,
We can do a hearing
I
sooner.
mean, just like the dog park thing, I mean, why not have the same type of deal here?
I think he's saying that. You want to bring this to a board meeting, yes?
It's basically, if you can do a hearing sooner than you can do a board meeting, so basically, it's a board meeting, it's the board acting in a hearing instead of a full board meeting. Make any sense?
I'm not sure.
I mean, we do it for, violations, we do it, a couple years ago, we had a problem at the North Pool with one of the swing groups, so we had to have a hearing and resolve it, and you can do those within, 7 or, quickly, as opposed to a regular board meeting.
Vote on it now.
Well,
We can't add anything to a meeting like today because it wasn't posted on the posted agenda. So it
Not as
wasn't-
an agenda item.
It wasn't, we have to get things on the agenda.
Just to be clear, my name's Jeanine Dorr, again, you know my address. Just to be clear for all the residents here, what is the exact formal procedure we have to go through to get an agenda item on the agenda? If somebody sends a request to any of the board members saying, this is a community issue that I would like addressed, what is your procedure that you're going through to determine whether or not it's worthy enough of a discussion? Because how many members who pay our HOA dues, we are residents, we own our properties, if we submit something that we want to have raised as an issue, I don't understand how you can just simply ignore it and not let the rest of the residents know that this has been an issue that's been raised. That seems in violation of your rules.
So how did this start?
They went to Christie.
Okay, so this was a request to Christie, the activity director, to either change
give them an
policy.
exception.
Change it, and give them an exception. And then Christie brought it to you, correct?
so it was presented
It was
to the
never-
board president.
Yes, it was never, they never requested it to be on an agenda.
Well, this goes back to my first comments, and that is that we seem to be picking and choosing one person as far as what goes on our agenda. And that's what I think is wrong. If something is presented according to our policy, which we follow, it's, as long as it's presented in writing 7 days prior, it can go, you can request it to go on the agenda. And that's why I want clarification as to under what authority does the president or the secretary have to deny requests that they get put on the agenda? This is just another example that it's frustrating because, this isn't a dictatorship. We're run by a 7-member board. And if someone presents something that says, hey, can you present this to the board, we should be informed of it. We shouldn't have to read this in a letter saying that the petition was received by us, and we didn't. We shouldn't have to read that the board declined a comment when we didn't. And it further says the board will continue to uphold the policy. Well, I'd like to see in our policy, where does it say we can't have music in the pool area? It doesn't? What?
It's
If the
posted,
sign
but it's not
posted, I want to know
based
my
on what?
policies. Give me your book, show me in the policy book where it says.
I think the policies only refer to the fact that the pool rules are posted in the pool area. If you want them posted in the policy manual, I guess we can do that.
Well, we
It talks
have
about not running, not jumping.
kids,
no
hours,
music.
diapers, I mean.
It does not
covers
say no
everything.
music.
It doesn't say anything about music.
But not in our policy ordinance.
But the policies only refer to the rules of the pool are posted at the pool. So if you want all of the rules posted in the policies, certainly we can make that change.
No.
I'm sorry?
I would say, Connie, if you could put it in writing again, address it to our president, that you would like this on the board agenda, and we'll see what happens. Because I've been promised that she's gonna get to me where in the policy book that only the president and the secretary can determine what goes on the agenda.
Any other member comments? Then we are adjourned at 4:45.
Got caught again, didn't they? On the phone with the cookie jar.